Welcome to the Comedy Reset Spotlight. This is the place to be if you want to hear from some of the most innovative and exciting comedy creators from around the globe. On this podcast, you'll hear from a variety of guests who are pushing the boundaries of what comedy can be. If you're looking for fresh perspectives and new ideas, this is the podcast for you.
Episode 35. New York comedian, Ruthy Ferrera.
Can you walk us through the moment or series of events that made you realize you wanted to pursue stand-up comedy?
I think it was in my blood. But to say what made me realize I wanted to pursue stand-up comedy, believe it or not, that never crossed my mind. Never in my life thought I would do or try stand-up comedy. I've always enjoyed other famous comedians stand-up, but it never crossed my mind to perform stand-up comedy. And now that I do it today, wow, you can't get me off that stage.
Who were your comedic inspirations growing up, and how have they influenced your style or approach to comedy? Describe the very first time you stepped onto a stage to perform stand-up. What was going through your mind, and how did that experience shape your subsequent performances?
On the stage for the very, very first time. Oh my God, was that a roller coaster? My nerves were rattling. I kept getting that nervous urge the need to pee. I literally drank 2 mango martinis before getting up on stage. This was my very first time, and it was a graduation class at Caroline's. Yep, Caroline's popped my cherry. Yeah, and it was a packed crowd. This class brought in so many bringers. The comedy club was a decently packed club, and there was a lot of my friends there, and friends and family. And oh my God, it was they gave us 5 minutes each, and my God, was that the longest 5 minutes in my life. Oh my goodness, like I thought my set was never going to end. Long story short, as I was doing my set, just, talking, yakking, whatever was coming out of my mouth or my mind, all I heard was laughs and claps, applauding, like, oh my God. And finally, when everything was over, when the whole graduation finished and everybody stepped out, and oh my God, people were grabbing me, they were congratulating me, they hugged me, like I graduated and got my PhD or something. All I did was crack some corny jokes. But anyway, now that I have more comedy experience, I go back and listen to that set my very first time, and you know what? It wasn't that bad for that, very low experience that I had. It wasn't that bad, and still to this day, I'm still looking into renewing and better that set. I'm thinking of using it again because it was a set that I was talking about coffee, and how us New Yorkers say coffee, CAWFEE, and I'm thinking to bring it back. And you know what? To pay homage to myself, I want to bring that set back. So yeah, that was my first time, and it was a great experience. And because of that first time, I recall telling my husband, honey, guess what? I want to do more of this. So there you go. That's why I continued doing some comedy.
Comedy is an evolving art form. How have you seen your own comedic style change and mature over the years?
Um, yeah, comedy and myself has evolved where I definitely gain more confidence. I'm not afraid of what to put out there. I do have better control of myself. I don't let things bother me or distract me. I try not to pay attention to the negativity and the and what seeps within the industry or the negative stuff that you may hear, whether from other comics, audience members, producers. I just go out there, have fun, do things on my own, and try not to let other stuff bother me or let the negativity take me down. And but yeah, I definitely have evolved as a better person and comedian. Um, and my style have changed where I'm also learning about myself. I definitely do some self-deprecation. I do a lot of current event stuff and talk about racial stuff, and I throw politics in there. I'm not afraid. And yeah, and again, the comedy art form, it has evolved in so many ways, of course, where people are doing a lot of social media, putting comedy into, uh, whether Facebook and the other social media platforms, TikTok and what have you. It evolved in so many ways, and people evolve. You have to go with the times, and people evolve themselves. And I would say I evolve myself as well. So there you go.
Can you share a particularly challenging gig or phase in your early career? And what lessons did you take away from it?
Uh, I in the beginning I experienced like some particularly challenging gigs, or like some phases, or there are times where, oh my god, I hate it when some men, they spew their insecurities on me, where some men feel intimidated, they won't even laugh, they literally will turn their chair around not to look at me, like they would literally show me while I'm on stage, like, look, I ain't gonna listen to you, I don't care if you say the funniest joke, I'm not gonna laugh. Like, they give me that look. Or even on some open mics, like I would say a funny joke and I hate it when guys would just, hey, I would say it this way or that way. And one time I've used it of how a guy told me how I should say it. It didn't get laughs. So I've learned that I guess when some men do that is because they feel insecure. They feel like I emasculated them or something. And not just me. There's other females that we share the same stories. Where, as everybody knows, comedy was a profession, back in the day where it was dominated by men, and men still to this day, some of them think that they still rule in that profession, and they do get intimidated by a lot of female comics where we're in their game now, we're in their construction site, and a lot of female comics have been successful, and some men, they do feel intimidated, or they feel like diminished by it, or it just makes them insecure. But that's what I struggled with at the beginning, and it was challenging for me, and it would throw me off when I do gigs. But other than that, let me see what else. As for other particularly challenging gigs, where I gotta admit I've been lucky, and knock on wood, where I haven't experienced like very harsh heckling. So there you go.
How do you handle the inevitable bombing on stage? And what strategies do you employ to bounce back?
Let me see. Inevitable bombing. I wouldn't call this like extreme bombing, where like you literally hear dust fall on the carpet. But if I was to say a joke or just continue on with my set, and I know one part of a joke is funny, because I've heard people laugh before, but let's say if this particular audience didn't laugh, I just continue on. I just don't pay attention to it. I try not. Before, it used to bother me, and that would throw off my set, and that would throw off my joke telling. Today I've gotten better. I've learned from it. I just keep going. Don't stop. Who cares what they think? Whatever. They were eating, they were doing something different. They didn't pay attention to the joke. Just keep going, keep going. Don't let things bother you. Don't let that bother you. And because especially when I've used a joke before and I've gotten big laughs on it, but if no one is laughing, just keep going. It was maybe for some other reason, or this was just a different crowd. And again, what I love about comedy, that comedy is subjective. So some people may find me funny, others don't. It's like I find some big pro comedians funny, others I do not, because again, the style, comedy is subjective, where one comedian won't be able to make everybody laugh at the same time. So that's what saves me when it comes to, if I was to, I guess, bomb where I don't hear laughs, I try not to let it get to me.
Walk us through your process of creating a new joke or bit. Do you start with a premise, a punchline, or something else entirely?
A new joke. I'm not one of those comedians that will I will take myself out in a quiet place, sit down for an hour or two, and just start writing. My comedy comes from the weirdest times, the weirdest places. Even if I have to go dig back 30 years in my life, I'll bring something back from 40 years. I bring something back from my school years. I bring something back when I gave birth to my children. But believe it or not, my comedy comes from and how I write stuff, whether it's a punchline or it's weird. It comes to me when either I'm showering or when I wake up in the wee hours, because I'm experiencing, and I throw this in my jokes too, perimenopause. So we naturally get up in the middle of the night. When I get up in the middle of the night and I can't get back to sleep, I can't go back to sleep, that's when the joke starts to come in. And or when I'm on the train riding the New York City subways, walking up and down Manhattan, that's when the joke starts popping in. And a lot of times you may catch me talking to myself and walking around, so don't think I'm crazy. I'm just coming up with a joke.
How do you decide which topics are off limits for you, if any? And how do you navigate sensitive subjects in your comedy?
When it comes to some topics, like when I walk into whether a club, a hall, a banquet, or wherever where I'm performing, I scout and scour the crowd. I read the crowd and I check out who's there, how many people, what's their style, what are their race, what are their, whether, and I try to be careful, but a lot of times, being a comedian is about bravery, it's about courage. Get out there, throw yourself, don't give two shits what people think, and do your thing. And but thankfully, my comedy is, I don't offend people. I try not to be offensive. I may be slightly, but I bring it back in to try to, have the people warm up to me again. But most of my comedy, I try not to be offensive. Again, I have that bravery. I don't know if it's because where I was born, I'm from the Bronx. I don't know, we were raised with this attitude that we're not afraid of anything. Yes, I will go out there to Long Island and Staten Island, and I will throw out and spew my Trump jokes, and that's part of the bravery. And but again, thankfully and luckily, my material is not so offensive, where I don't have to worry about some of my stuff being off limit, and not have people be afraid of me, not be so controversial. So that's what saves me.
Share with us one of the most memorable moments you've had on stage, whether it was a surprising audience reaction, an unexpected event, or a personal breakthrough.
Moments that I've experienced on stage. When again, when I was to if I was to step into a club or a hall banquet or what have you, I read the crowd and I'll say to myself, "Oh man, this crowd is not gonna get me," or whatever. "Oh my God, this is I don't think whatever." But anyway, when I get on stage and I start my set and I get the surprising claps, the surprising laughs, it makes me like, "Holy cow, they did get me. I was wrong all along." And again, this goes back to where comedy is subjective. Just because you walk into a club or whatever and it's like a white country crowd, that doesn't mean that they're not gonna like a dark Latina, or vice versa. You'd be surprised what's out there, and that's what's been surprising me a lot of times, where or there's times I feel so comfortable. "Oh my God, look at my people, they're gonna love me. This is the Black and Latino crowd." Nope, they look at me expecting me to spew all the cursing and all the Def Jam comedy stuff, and that's not me. So it's surprising. But then there's other times I remember, this was an all black crowd at a barbecue joint, and again, I said to myself and my husband, we agreed to each other, like, "Oh, we don't think this crowd's gonna like me or whatever." And nope, to my surprise, there was a lot of laughs and a lot of applauses. So again, comedy is subjective. That you don't know what's gonna happen out there. You don't know the mood of the crowd. You don't know the mood of the audience. It's just comedy is just so surprising. It's like throwing the dice. You don't know what's gonna come out.
Have you ever had an interaction with a fan or audience member that deeply impacted you or changed the way you approach comedy?
Interactions with some, I guess, fans or some audience members where well, again, thankfully I haven't experienced like awful heckling. What I do get is good heckles, and what I mean by good heckles, and I hate this too though, because it interferes, it distracts you from your comedy, like it kind of throws off your set or whatever. I mean, but it's good heckling where I would say a story or do my joke telling, and you get the, "Oh yeah, that's right, girl, that happened to me too. Yep. Oh hell yeah. Yep, she right. Uh-huh." Like there's a lot of, all right, let me finish my stuff." Even though that's good heckling, it's like, be quiet, let me say the joke, let me, and that can throw you off on stage. But it's been good, and it, but also, like they say, like if they give you a certain time, or like, "Oh, you got 10 minutes, you got 12 minutes, you got 5 minutes," by these people throwing these good heckles and you conversating back with them, it's cutting some of your time that you won't be able to get into other good stuff, into your set, into your comedy. So again, even though it's good heckling, again, just let the comedian do their set, let them, and a lot of times that can throw me off when you talk back at my, and or even if you agree with me, uh but maybe I have to learn from that too, and make more jokes out of that, and practice on, you know, talking back with the good heckling. But yeah, I guess that's I have to finish, I guess, getting more involved with the when fans and people interact within my comedy while I'm on stage.
How do you feel about the current trends in stand up comedy, especially with the rise of online platforms and social media influencing the comedic landscape?
Comedy. Oh my God. I tell you, I remember when I mean, we had no choice but to do online comedy during the pandemic, when all the clubs and halls and everything was closed. I mean, oh my God. And I gotta admit, it did help me, but it's not the same. I mean, I definitely understand that there is a rise on online platforms and social media and stuff, but it's not the same as live comedy. It's not the same. You get a delay when you're online. You say a joke. I mean, it could be the funniest joke, and you hear a delayed laughter. It's not the same as if you were to be live. You hear the laughter right there on point. And again, social media with all this chat GPT, AI, or whatever, it's not real, it's not authentic, it's not the real deal as seeing someone live on stage. You get because you get in social media with all these fancy uh tools that they provide. It helps tweak your comedy, and it adds color, extra color. It adds fun functions, whether sparkles or whatever, or captions. It's still not real raw comedy as you were to see someone on stage with the mic in their hand and telling their jokes. It's online and social media stuff is not the same. I mean, it is funny, like whether television or movies, but it's not the actual stand-up comedy. But I do respect it. It is a current trend, but again, it does not stand, toe to toe with stand-up comedy when a live person is on stage.
There's been a lot of discussion about cancel culture and comedy. What's your perspective on the balance between pushing boundaries and being respectful?
Culture, if you ask me, that puts comedy in a headlock. I mean, I tell you, it's comedy, stand-up comedy is about pushing boundaries. It's about, yeah, you could be respectful, but again, even if you're offensive, I mean, there's no stand-up comic, no person on this planet gets on a stage, gets on a platform to literally diss the crap out of somebody. I mean, that's mean, that's cruel, that's nobody really does that, you know? And it's like, for example, Chris Rock, the infamous Academy Awards slap. I'm a comic. I remember seeing the Academy Awards, that entire incident, and I didn't see it afterwards. I saw it while the TV was going. It was live. And as Chris Rock was saying the joke or whatever, as a comic, I saw it differently. He was complimenting Jada Pinkett. That's how I was seeing it. It was a compliment. He wasn't dissing her, and he didn't know about her medical condition or whatever. But either way, whether he knew or he didn't, that joke it was a compliment. That's how I saw it. Remember, I'm a comic, and that whatever it turned, people got sensitive or whatever, and it took it to a different area. But I tell you, this cancel culture, it's ridiculous. Now, I mean, of course, if there's rape involved, if there's other violent stuff involved, yeah, that's different. But if it's words where the comic could come back and fix the offensive part, then fine. The comic cured it, put a band-aid on it, move on. But again, comedy, people pay money to hear the absurd, to hear shock, and that's what stand-up comedy is about. And I don't know. There's a lot of people are getting too sensitive. Like, it's ridiculous, And again, I guess they should put warning labels in a lot of comedy clubs or television show. Like, if you're sensitive or you can't take a joke or whatever, don't watch. Period. Don't listen to it. Just move away, go away, and go live in your la la land, and don't bother watching or hearing comedy. That's how I feel.
How do you see the future of stand up comedy evolving, especially in a post pandemic world where virtual shows have become more prominent?
Those online shows, they're here to stay. Good. But you know what? Those virtual shows, whether you watch a comedian online or whatever, guess what? You're going to want to see that comedian in person. Again, nothing beats watching live comedy in person. You see the true authenticity of that comedian. You see that comedian, how tall they are, you see their mannerisms, you see everything on stage from head to toe, where online, you don't, and it's not the same. There's a delay. There's a again online virtual show. Yeah, they're here to stay. I respect it, but it does not beat live stand-up comedy.
If you had to describe your comedic style in 3 words, what would they be and why?
I'm not a storyteller. I'm not good at telling stories. It's a combination of maybe one-liners, quick joke and punchline. Um, what else? It's unexpected. It's shocking, and I also talk about current events. And when someone sees me on stage, they see, oh, look at this nice girl. Like, she looks like a homely mother, or a wife and mother, and whatever, because that's what I am, and that's how I come across. But when I spew out some funny, unexpected stuff, that's when people are like, "Oh my God!" I remember I was told to my face. There was some friends that I had invited to a show that I did at Comic Strip, and wow, that show I got a lot of laughs. And when the show ended and everything, that everybody meets in the end, I was told to my face, "Oh my God, I thought you were this boring housewife. Holy shit, you shocked the crap out of me." Blah blah blah. So there you go. That's my comedy. Where still to this day, I still have friends and some other people that I grew up with that have not seen my comedy live to this day, because who knows if they're thinking the same thing. She ain't funny, blah blah blah, whatever, she's this homely housewife or whatever. And but when you see me on stage, it's a whole nother game, a whole different story. My comedy comes with some shock moments, and it is fun.
Who are some current comedians you admire or believe are pushing the boundaries of the art form?
So many. Definitely Chappelle. Dave Chappelle has always been way ahead of himself, way ahead of himself. Uh, he's definitely one that he pushes boundaries. He does well and continues to do well. And then you have Chris Rock. Who else? I like Wanda Sykes. Let's throw in some females here. Who else? Amy Schumer. Who else out there? Oh my God, there are so many. Let's mention some Bronx people as well. Jackie Fabulous. I think she's cool, from the Bronx. Adrian Iapolucci too. She has her dark side that makes it funny. Very intelligent joke writing there. Let me see. Oh man, there's just so many out there. Um, that I admire. This I can't even put it into this little segment. There's just so many out there that I admire. Not I can't say, oh, there's one comic that I hate. They're comedians for a reason, and it's because they can turn a frown upside down. They make people laugh, and I hope they continue to do so.
Comedy often serves as a reflection of society. How do you incorporate your personal experiences and observations about the world into your sets?
My personal experiences a lot into my comedy, whether I experience like work stuff. There's always something at work, racism, social statuses, and comedy comes from pain. Even though I had a fun childhood, with I can't say I have pain, so that's why I throw in like my family, and talk about celebrities, talk about current events. Where not necessarily my comedy comes from deep pain, whether like Richard Pryor, uh, who else? Other comedians that a lot of their comedy derives from pain, which that's what makes it funny, because they turn the pain around and turn it into something funny. But I can't say that my comedy comes from pain. Well, there are some painful thoughts and experiences that I've gone through, whether at work or whatever. Maybe I'll turn, but like deep pain, like, growing up in a brothel and stuff like that, no, that's not me. But I respect those that came from pain and turn things around, and turn it into a joke to help cope with, whatever pain.
For aspiring comedians listening to this podcast, what piece of advice would you give them that you wish someone had given you when you were starting out?
Listening to this podcast, I would tell you, don't be afraid, have confidence in your comedy, and how you deliver it. If you don't hear a laugh or a chuckle, just keep going. Don't let it bother you. Just don't be afraid. Don't be that little cocoon hiding in the corner, hiding in a shell, in a cocoon or whatever. Just do your thing. Get out there, and just don't be afraid. Just do your thing. And if you are a comedian today, stop focusing on what other comedians are doing. um Again, comedy is subjective, where one club or a place may book someone because that comic, might have fit the audience, but you may not necessarily be the right person for that audience or crowd or venue or whatever. And stop comparing yourself to other comics. Every comic is different, and you'll never hear. I would never tell another comic, or mention, oh wow, such and such wasn't funny. He's not funny. She's not even funny. You know, everybody again is different. Comedy is subjective, where I could be funny in Manhattan but not funny in Iowa, and vice versa. A comedian could be funny in Wichita, Kansas, not funny in Queens. Everybody's different. I may think, whatever, Eddie Murphy, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle are funny. Other people may not think they're funny. I was told to many times, oh, I don't think such and such is funny, or and I also accept the fact that I know there's a lot of people out there that don't think I'm funny. I'm good with that. And but again, I know people out there that were grabbing their bellies, laughing hard when I would say jokes, when I would be on that stage. I know, who are my crowd, who are my people. And but again, don't follow, stop comparing yourself to other comics. Don't think, oh, but that person is not even funny. I don't even know how that person got a late night gig, or this, or how that person got passed, or whatever. Again, everybody's different. A booker or a producer, again, it's all about, the crowd, how you handle your comedic experience when you're out there. It's all different. It's and it's hard. It is a challenge, where, and I know it could be frustrating, where you see a comic out there that's doing more than you are, but there's a reason why that comedian, why that comic is doing way much more. Because again, that comedian is working. That comedy is a hustle game. Go out there, stop being lazy, work, continue to work, keep writing, keep writing. Comedy again is a hustle game, where it's don't let it distract you, don't let it, keep you down, and just keep moving, keep doing your thing, and stop worrying about what other comedians are doing, and worry about what you're not doing. And that's basically it.
Finally, what's next for you in your comedic journey? And where can our listeners catch your next performance?
I am going to continue doing my stuff. I'm going to continue writing and having fun, getting on stage, performing. I remember putting this post on Facebook, where if I was to hit the Powerball, I am going to still continue performing on flea infested, mosquito infested clubs, flooded rooms, and I'm gonna still continue doing my stuff in in crummy basements, smelly breweries. I'm going to continue doing comedy because that's in my heart. I love it, and nothing's going to stop me. And I'm still performing pretty much. I like to book myself like maybe 2-3 months in advance, and I am currently booked in advance. So if anybody want to watch me, please visit my website. I'm at www.ruthyferrera.com, and that's Ruthy with a Y, not an IE. Ruthyferrera.com. You can find me. You can see the dates and where I'll be performing. And I hope I can get a chuckle out of you. And if not, like the rest of us comedians, we don't give a crap. Anyway, you guys have a good time, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.
I've been your host, Rob Chaffee. Don't forget to laugh today. It's good for you. Comedy Reset Spotlight is a podcast that brings you today's freshest and funniest comedy creators. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to hear more.